Well, the reaction to the game and Man United's performance: aimless, passionless, hapless, and too cautious tactically. Whose fault is that? Is it Moyes? Is it down to Moyes?
Well, I don't think you can blame Moyes for some of the individual mistakes, the individual performances. Some of them, Rio Ferdinand springs to mind, he was particularly bad. And obviously a group of players and as coaching staff, you have to take on collective responsibility. I think Moyes in the last few months has shown that he's completely out of his depth. I questioned at the time why they would pick him with his experience and with his CV. Why would he be seen as the best man for that job? I don't think replacing Moyes now will solve all United's problems, but I cannot imagine a scenario where with Moyes in place, or with Moyes remaining there, that this Man United squad will recover, that the problems that they have, that he's the man that can lead
regardless
the recovery.
Of whether he buys a lot of players.
See, you can throw money at this, but if I've heard plenty of people say he needs time or you need to be patient, and those kind of phrases can be applied to any scenario and just a general discussion about management. But when you bring it back to David Moyes, I haven't heard anyone say specifically this is what Moyes brings to the table and this is what he will continue to bring, which United need to take them in the direction that they now need to go. And I can't imagine, if you were sitting in that United dressing room, how these players would be inspired by him. But what Moyes could say to that group of players, with all their experience, all their medals, that he would convince and say, lads, do this, follow me, I'm the man to take us out of this. When he's been the central figure, he's been the primary change. You compare, everyone's used this phrase, flawed inheritance. That seems to be the way that we're now describing Premier League champions. They're flawed. They've been unrecognisable this season from what they were last season. And I think to paint this as the inevitable consequence of Ferguson leaving, I think that's just too glib. I think you have to discuss Moyes.
Well, John doesn't agree with your thesis. Well, you said that the signing of Mata kind of represented the first sign of change.
First of all, I think he hasn't done as well as he should do with the group of players that he's got. But I think he inherited a lot of players who were on the way down, and he doesn't have the Ferguson factor. But I don't think he's been given enough time yet to put his own stamp on it. He took over the club fairly late in the summer and actually signed one player before the season started, Bill. Any manager, when he goes into a club, I think he can be judged after the summer when he can get rid of the players that he wants to get rid of and gets the players in that he wants to get in.
And how many should he get rid of?
Well, I'd say there's 4 or 5. I think he leaves
would you like to name them?
Well, I think Ferdinand will go. I think Van Persie, the way he's talking at the moment, should go. I think Everett will go. I think
what about the midfield?
Cleverly's not good enough. I don't think Carrick is good enough to do what needs to be done. So he's a big rebuilding job to do. I would prefer to judge him on his results after he's done what he wants to do, which hasn't been the case. He didn't get a chance in the summer, Bill. He moved into the job late. He didn't get the players I think he wanted to get. So I would give him until he has his own players in and see how they play and then say he's not ready for the job. It's a big job to take over.
Oh yes, there's no doubt about that. And he has, to be fair, Ronnie, some successes. I mean, the Rooney contract is a success. The
Rooney contract is a great success, Bill, but has that put a little bit of the other players off going, hang on, what's he get 300 grand a week for? You know,
you think that's destabilising, do you?
I think it is a little bit. I don't think that's the whole problem, to be fair, but I think it is.
What's the problem as far as you're concerned?
When I was at Liverpool in the late 80s, early 90s, we signed players that weren't good enough for Liverpool Football Club. At the moment, Manchester United have got a group of players. John mentioned get rid of 4 or 5. I'd be looking at 8, 9, 10.
The whole team?
Well, not the whole team, because you've got to look at your bench as well. What can come off your squad? Get rid of... Ferdinand is like a player who doesn't want to be there.
You see, that's my point, I think, and you've both said it. He had an opportunity there to manage the dressing room, to make an example of Rio when he came out and said what he said a while ago, and he didn't.
Ferguson wouldn't have tolerated it.
He wouldn't have said it.
He wouldn't have said it.
He wouldn't have got to this. He wouldn't have said it at all. Nothing at all. And Johnny, you made the point. Allow Moyes time to put his own stamp on the team. What is Moyes' stamp? I've heard for years, as long as I've been watching football, Ferguson's been the manager of United, and he kept using this phrase, it's a Manchester United way, and he applied that to a variety of scenarios, but he applied that there were certain things that would always come with Manchester United. And we didn't know, was it a Ferguson influence or was it a United thing? Ferguson left and all those traits left with him. All the things, all the things you would credit the United team in the past with, the willingness to, all of the things, they're gone. This side is unrecognisable. What is Moyes' stamp? If you give him all the time in the world,
Richie, that he
but what's his stamp? What's his?
Well, give me
elaborate.
But
elaborate.
He's got to bring players
one
in.
voice.
And you're
One
talking
voice.
about Ferguson, his stamp. It took 3 years for Ferguson to put his stamp on.
But what is Moyes' stamp?
But we don't,
Give him an indefinite amount of time, so you're supporting the notion that Moyes should stay.
No, don't put words into my mouth.
I'm saying a scenario where Moyes has enough time to put his stamp on it.
Well,
Describe that stamp.
I'll tell you what his stamp will be. And every manager's stamp. Getting rid of the players you don't want and bringing the players in that you do want.
Okay.
He hasn't had a chance to do that yet.
But John, is there an
65 million?
Hang on a minute, Richie. He signed 2 players.
Yeah.
He signed 2 players. What all the managers have to do when they come into the club, and this is where their real judgment is at stake, who to get rid of and who to bring in. He hasn't had a chance to do that yet. He definitely lost an opportunity to put his stamp on it with Rio Ferdinand. But I've no doubt he'll go at the end of the season. You have to give him until the end of next summer who he brings in, who he lets go, and then see his results from there.
I want to ask.
That's the real stamp on any
to
manager.
support the point that Richie is making, the story tonight that Van Persie is considering his position, John, surely means that Moyes hasn't been able to cope with the superstars at Man United and being able to impose himself properly on the team.
It can also show you that Van Persie's a prat.
Oh, well, that's possibly true. But you've got to manage prats as well.
I'll read you Van Persie's comments from today, right? This is, he said, our fellow players are sometimes occupying the spaces I want to play in. And when I see that, it makes it difficult for me to come to those places as well. So that forces me to adjust my runs based on the position of my fellow players, and unfortunately, they're often playing in my zones. I think that's a shame.
Assuming that he's not been
right. So in other words, he's not at fault. I'm not saying Moyes is going to be a great success. He mightn't have it, Bill. I don't know.
But you're saying,
give him a chance.
Okay.
I mean, if Van Persie is misbehaving, he's got to go out. Ferdinand has got to go out. He's got to get the players in that he wants. So you can say, this is Moyes' team, and they're no good.
But aren't we saying, sorry?
That's what Richie's saying is about a stamp. Every manager goes into a football club, and you've seen Benitez, you've seen Houllier, you've seen all these managers go into a football club. I want to get my team.
Yeah.
Now, Moyes has to be given a chance to get his team in there. This is all Fergie's players.
He hasn't had the same team in 40 games.
And lots through injuries, and then there's the rotation.
We're talking about the group of players that he's got.
Yeah.
He's inherited those players. Yeah. And in the summer, he didn't get time to get the players in that he wants.
Yeah, but
so
John,
he's stuck with
the other side of that coin is
they
won the league with the same group of players last year.
That's my point. I think people are exaggerating how poor this group are. Like we're talking about Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand's going to be gone at the end of this year, no matter who is in charge. And their future, their hopes this season wasn't going to rest on the performances of Rio Ferdinand. He's no longer central to their plans. But why you would give Moyes all the money to spend? Why you would put, from what we've seen, where's the threshold? How bad do things have to get?
You give him a 5 or 6 year contract because you feel along the line somewhere he will get a right team.
And what point, where do you get to the point where you go, hang on lads, maybe we need to have a chat here. We're out of the cup, we're lower league team.
I'll tell you when you get it. Next Christmas.
Where does this figure come from? So that's 18 months. Why 18 months?
Okay, because he obviously hasn't got control of these players, and these players are not doing it for him at the moment.
That's my point. So what gives you the impression that will change?
Because
from what you've seen,
he can get rid of players in the summer and buy players in that he wants to buy. Now he's got his team, and you judge him on the results that he has with that particular team.
But I'd be making my decisions based on what we've seen from him. He's, if we're to agree,
has he got the players in that he wants and got rid of the players? Has he had an opportunity to do that, Richie?
Well, he's made 2 or 3 changes, but I would disagree that that's
he's spent 65 million on players so far.
Januzaj's come in, Matt has come in, and Fellaini
has come in.
Januzaj is going to be a top-class player. Matt hasn't got a chance to do it yet. Fellaini is dodgy whether he can do it on. They're the players that he brought in, right?
His inability to get, broadly speaking, management, can you get the most out of the squad? Are you reaching or getting anywhere near the expectations that you should realistically set for a group of players? Emphatically, the answer is no.
So are you saying
Bill, they lifted a trophy. They were champions in May. We're 7 or 8 months later. I'm not going to rattle through all the defeats and the results.
We know that.
But
yeah.
it's been a collapse. In footballing terms, they've collapsed.
They have, yeah.
And
How
it's
many
not,
times
it's
last
not
year
because
did we look at Man United and say, these are not a good team?
when they were winning games
Yeah.
and lifting
Yeah.
trophies.
Yeah.
So the players have it. It's within the group.
But
They're
Richie,
immensely experienced and
to
talented.
finish up your point, now what
Go
are you
on.
saying? That he should go before he has the opportunity to buy players in the summer? Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
I would absolutely agree that investment is needed in this squad. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I would be
But he's not
puzzled
the man
as to why you would give it to him
trust with that investment.
based on 100% of what we've seen him in the job
And-
before.
and John,
which
you're
is
saying the very
consistently
opposite.
given.
You're going the opposite way around it, Richie. You're putting the cart before the horse. How can you judge him if he hasn't got the... You're saying in so far what you've seen, but he hasn't had his own players in. You can only judge him on the results that he gets with getting rid of the players he wants to get rid of and getting the players in that he wants.
Okay,
That's
a
the
final
only
word
way you
from
can
Ronnie.
judge him.
No, I think that's... I'm with John on this one. He's got to get his own players in, get rid of the players he feels are destabilising his team or his club, and
We don't know
then
they're
judge him by
they're
that.
not- you don't know
I
there's
want to just finish
destabilising
up with one quiet question to you. Are you a bit intolerant of the criticism of Moyes?
No, not at
You're
all.
not?
I think he deserves to be criticised a bit because I think he should be getting more out of the squad than he's
he
actually
currently
getting.
got, okay.
But when you got a Ferdinand and you got a Van Persie, who I think are kicking up, now you wouldn't have thought before the season started that Ferguson never had any problem. He's having problems with them, so he's got to get rid of them. But that's his judgment. I don't know whether he'll make the right judgment or not, but I think he's got to be given a chance to make those judgments and to be judged on the players that he brings in and the players that he lets go.
Okay. All right, we got to leave it there.